Alright, so I'm going to do a walkthrough for quiz 2.1, 2.2, and actually we are going to start not on number 1 but on number 3 because number 1 and 2 are word problems. Alright, so number 3, to solve this two-step equation, we're going to eliminate the 15 first by subtracting 15 to both sides to get that taken away. So we got -4 equals -d. Most students got to this step right here, but they forgot about the negative sign. I told you if there's a negative in front of it, we want the d totally by itself. We want it to be a positive d. So there's an implied -1 there. So we're going to divide both sides by that -1, giving us a +4 as our answer. So this is what you should have gotten. Alright, so now we have multiplication by a fraction and adding this 5. We're going to first start off by canceling the adding of 5. So we're going to do the opposite, which is subtract 5. So that will give us 3/7 x equals 3. And now this step is, again, the step that most students were getting confused with. Well, this is being multiplied by a 3/7, so we are going to divide by a 3/7 to both sides. So dividing a number by a fraction, we actually need to multiply by the reciprocal. So if we take a look over here on this side, we have 3 times 7/3. So if I usually cross cancel here, so I end up having just 7/1. So x equals 7. Okay, so now getting into a multi-step equation. This one we're going to simplify first by using the distributive property because we have this 3 on the outside of the parentheses. So you have to make sure that you are doing the distributive property correctly, which is multiplying this 3 times both of these terms. So you should have gotten 3y plus 18 equals 30. So doing that will give us our two-step equation that we're used to seeing. So we're going to eliminate the constant, the 18. So we're going to subtract 18 from both sides right here. So we're going to end up with 3y equals 12. And then dividing each side by this 3, since it's being multiplied, the inverse is to divide. So we end up with y equals 4. Alright, so number 6 looks a little different than the other ones, but it's still kind of like having a fraction right here, and we have the -18. So of course we're going to add 18 to both sides. Alright, so we get this as a result, 5p over 7, or 5p divided by 7 equals -25. Now, there are two ways that we can deal with this. We can deal with this as 5p being divided by 7, or we can look at it as 5 over 7 times p. So just to keep it in step with well, we'll just treat it like a multiple step equation. So I'm going to treat it as 5p divided by 7. So the first thing we want to do is cancel out this division by 7. So the division by 7 that gets canceled out will be by the multiply by 7 to both sides, resulting in 5 times p equals -175. We still want to get this p by itself as being multiplied by 5. So the inverse, or the opposite of that, is to divide by 5. And again, whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So I'm dividing the other side by 5. So we get p equals -35. Okay, here we have an equation with decimals involved. One way that I deal with this is to clear all the terms that have decimals in it. And we do that by, well, mathematically we do that by multiplying by some multiple of 10, or factor of 10. Since all of these are in the tenths place. The decimal place is in the tenths place. I multiply this whole equation by a factor of 10. In doing so, if I do that, what happens physically is that the decimal points all move one place to the right. So I usually don't write this multiplication, but I just want you to see where it's going. So if I multiply 4.9 times 10, that becomes a 49. So that becomes 49x plus, if I multiply 4.4 times 10, that becomes 44. And 19.1 times 10 is 191. Okay. So if they were in the hundreds place, the same thing, I would just multiply by 100. So just make sure it's like the distributive property, okay? Because whatever, and it's property of equality, whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side. So I multiply 10 over here, and I multiply 10 over here. All right, so now it's just a normal two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 44 from both sides, resulting in 49 times x equals 147. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 49 to get this x by itself, since 49 is being multiplied. So x equals 3. There you go. Okay, so we have another equation that has decimal points in it, and this one also happens to have all decimal numbers with the tenths. So that means I'm going to multiply everything by 10 or move the decimal point one place to the right in each of these 4 terms. So all of these are going to move the decimal point one place to the right because I'm mathematically multiplying every term by a factor of 10, thus producing our new equation. 34 equals negative 136 plus a negative 34c plus 17c. Okay, and from here we have some like terms that can be combined. Right here, these two can be combined together, giving us a new equation of negative 136 plus a negative 17c. Now we're going to begin isolating the variable. We have this negative 17 times c, and we have this constant negative 136. So we're going to add a 136 to both sides. So we get 170 equals negative 17 times c. So again, we want to continue isolating for c. So we're going to divide by this negative 17 to both sides. So we get negative 10 equals c as our answer. Okay, so now we have an equation that has decimal and the distributive property. This is where I saw a lot of students make some mistakes here because they wanted to clear the decimal right away because they saw the decimal. Don't do that. If there's other things to do first, like the distributive property, do that first. See if that works to clear our decimal. And because it is a distributive property, it works a little differently in clearing this fraction, clearing this decimal. So let's go ahead and distribute first, meaning I want to multiply the 6 times both of those terms. See, by distributing, we ended up getting rid of the decimal all by itself just by doing the distributive property, leaving us with a regular two-step equation. So we're going to go ahead and cancel that minus 72 by adding 72 to get 27 times y equals 81. And to continue isolating the y, we're going to divide both sides by 20, okay, giving us y equals 3. All right, so our last problem on the quiz is negative 6y plus 14 plus 4y equals 32. No distributive property, no decimals, no fractions, but we have like terms. And like terms can be combined. The like terms are this minus 6y, and remember that we take the sign that's in front of our term. So right here we have a minus 6y and a plus 4y. So we are going to combine those together with addition. So negative 6y plus 4y gives us a negative 2y. And then we bring down the 14. and the 32. Now it's just a normal everyday two-step equation. So we're going to go ahead and start isolating for y by subtracting 14 to both sides, giving us a negative 2 times y equals 18. Continue isolating for y. We're going to divide both sides by a negative 2, giving us y equals negative 9. So I hope this walkthrough helped you, and go back, practice, and good luck.